Well, folks, it is the day in which daylight savings time has set the clocks an hour back. Late at night, I can't sleep. Let's make breakfast. Starting with Arctic eggs. That's right, multiple unsettling games involving the creation of breakfast will be played in this sleep-deprived sitting. You are guaranteed to be glad you tuned in. Now, the pedants among you, and I count myself among them, you're in good company, trust me. You will say that we're in Antarctica 2091, and yet the game is called Arctic Eggs. There's an explanation for all this. Perhaps Xavier Renegade Angel will tell us why that is the case. And probably fry eggs on top of Mount Everest. If we're talented enough, it's all about effort. Getting to the top of Mount Everest is probably the hard part. Then again, case to be made. The top freezes as the bottom cooks. Something to remember next time you're at the top of Mount Everest. Gonna attempt to escape. But for now, all we can do is walk and cook. That's gonna have to be enough. When all you have is a hammer, everything looks like breakfast. And this is our hammer. So this whole game is a matter of carefully manipulating objects inside of a frying pan. And talking to eccentric weirdos on the North Pole. South Pole. Well, more on that later. Here's the hard part. The flip. Little overzealous, but we landed that egg. And our inherently hot frying pan just cooked it right up. Thereby proving irrefutably that you can cook eggs on top of Mount Everest. Doesn't really tell us what our previous line of work was, but being an egg chef is some kind of punishment. And we'll need permission from the Saint of Six Stomachs. Get out of here. Cut corners. Perhaps endangered lives or something. Now we gotta omelet our way out. Or be trapped here forever. Here happens to be a gigantic city. So far above the ground, we can't see the ground. Luckily, this is a world where metal is inherently hot all the time, so these structures are probably fairly comfortable given the circumstances. And all this heat surely wards off things from attacking us in Antarctica. Unless this thing's a thing. You a thing? Your head's wibbly wobbling like a thing. But you're only concerned about toilets. And their sweet nothings that they whisper in your ear. Playful whispers in the bathroom are the work of dolphins. Or chickens playing hide and seek. This is a bit of an eccentric town. I think people might be losing their minds from being out here in the extreme cold. Not me. I love the extreme cold. We're a poultry prepper. A potentially lethal job. Cook an egg on both sides. With a cigarette. The perfect seasoning. So eccentric weirdos want eccentric breakfasts. The plural of breakfast is fairly difficult to pronounce. I'm now realizing. And there goes the egg. You can keep the cigarette. Thankfully, we get a second try. So the entire mechanic of this game is that you hold the left trigger that heats the pan somehow and also makes it only move the slightest bit as you wiggle the analog stick. When you release the trigger, flicking the analog stick gives a fairly violent jerk to the pan. And that way you can flip your eggs and other mysterious cookables. Hint of respite. Never gonna forget that cigarette omelet. How about you, burnt face man? Having a very hard time. Using improper utensils. Doesn't stop him from dancing, though. I respect it. He loves drinking out of bowls. Or eating out of cups, or whatever he said. So, arguably the elephant in the room is this is not really a horror game. It's just a vaguely creepy aesthetic. But it is horror adjacent enough that I think it stays on brand for me. Plus, there's some, like, gross stuff later on. Specifically, gross stuff will be right in here. There are still many hungry people here, I think. We gotta feed everyone out here before we're allowed in here. We ultimately have to feed a lot of people. But once we feed everyone on the outside, we're allowed to start going into indoor locations. There are multiple indoor locations. And eventually, we will have fed enough to gain an audience with the Saint of Six Stomachs. Well, without warning, cook an entire can of sardines. And an egg. There's a different soldier who gives you a tutorial on what you're supposed to do with the sardines, but it is fairly self-explanatory. Eat them till they burst. Spill them all over the floor, and call it a day. You get the sardines out, then you need to flip the can so that the sardines are, touching the heating element. Then you cook them as per usual. I also believe things can burn. Although, I've never actually burned anything in this game. Surely it's possible, though. Oh, that sardine is sticking in the can. This is likely to be a problem. Got cooked beans and one on top of the other. I don't like my odds there. Yeah, it's absorbing the heat. This should be fine. For some reason, even though the can is inedible, if you accidentally hurl out the can, even if you save all the fish, your hungry customers will be dissatisfied. You will have to start again. We can also smoke ourselves our favorite 2 brand cigarettes, which is actually a hint for how many satisfied customers we have left in our wake. Worrying about the Mariana Trench. But of course, food is the more pressing issue. It has to be. No matter what concerns you may have in your life. Breakfast first. Then contemplate the horrors. No matter what happens this week, eat your breakfast. Take care of yourself. And if possible, be taken care of by a poultry prepper. And this too could be you. An incredibly awkward dancer. I hope the sizzling is loud enough on stream. I really gotta pay attention to my volume here. Salmonella chicken. At least we're not poisoning people. We are thoroughly cooking our meals. And our iguanas. Okay, eggs and bacon. Fair amount of bacon. Both need to be cooked on each side. Bacon just happens to be more awkwardly shaped. And each side takes a bit of a while. Nice flip. Close. Yes. Surgical precision. Wouldn't want to miss now. We'd be hurling strips of bacon into the abyss. All the way to the ground floor where the monsters would be attracted by them. I still insist that the thing is happening at ground floor of this very building. Hot and cold. I think there's plenty of cold around here. He really has not learned his lesson about cold meat. Sausage time. I mean, he's cooking himself. I don't think he needs us. But he's got too much meat. Doesn't want to deal with it all, nor the whispering stomach. That's a lot of sausage and a lot of eggs. You can briefly make a funny face. And then it shifts and wanders around. All the faces in this game. Slowly shifting about. That wasn't so bad. Sausages are not especially difficult. Really nothing outside is especially difficult. Although the learning curve on this game is very steep. That's an exaggeration. It's a short game overall. But your first half hour or so with it is likely to be on the frustrating side. Then they find new and interesting ways to make it frustrating. Ah. This guy is an early 2000s internet user. Bacon's better than sex. Or he's just asexual. But I'm living proof that you can be both. Okay. Managed to flip everything back to its starting status. Not so much now, though. The cigarette. The game doesn't really tell you until you fail a few times. Is a time limit. It's basically a fuse. Because the cigarette is slowly burning into nothing. And when there's no cigarette, you have failed the meal. What is a meal without a cigarette? Pony on the grill. I believe this gentleman is simply proud of his brother. With really fancy cinematic camera angles. So everyone wants to leave. Only way to do it is to cook like an expert without losing your mind and eventually satisfy everybody. Some of these camera angles are pretty obscene. Chicken has lost its cowardly vernacular due to the rarity and reverence that people have gained for chickens. If you were to call someone a chicken, they would be a delicacy. Be a delightful delicacy to someone must be nice. That's the right attitude. Here we go. Here's the fish ration tutorial guy. He's been saving this can for 10 years. We're going to pop it open, flip the fish. Cigarette to go with it. I think it's possible if the cigarette is not the first item in. Landed on top of the other stuff. Basically not start the fuse from burning. Damn you, last fish. Okay. Nudged just enough. We are good. I forget if it burns down to the filter, if that counts as a loss, or if it has to burn all the way down to nothing. Hopefully we don't find out, but we're still in easy mode. Making excellent progress. Yep, feeding everybody. Talking to stomachs. Being an asshole. Live for the eggs. Live on, that you may eat an egg tomorrow. Jar of honey in the bathroom, but I digress. If anyone ever says ubiquitous, ignore them indefinitely. I've almost certainly said the word ubiquitous many times. That explains why I'm an unsuccessful YouTuber. Egg time. We're feeding a family now. Okay. We should all be touching. There we go. Definitely all touching. The flip is going to be the hard part. Obviously, we're not going to flip them all at once. We will just flip them all one at a time, which is still easier said than done. Sometimes this happens. Okay. It fell to the right direction. But yeah, eggs do have enough space on their edges that you can stand them vertically, and they might get stuck there. Uniform ubiquity managed to consistently deliver across all these eggs. Well, you said ubiquity, so you are ignored. On an egg. I'm not a poultry peddler, I'm a poultry prepper. Get it right. I literally have a weapon. Granted, so do you. Probably wouldn't be a great idea to start any acts of violence in the area. Cooking a lot of cigs and probably one egg at the end. Whole pack of cigs. Which ultimately is not any harder than cooking with one cig. Except that they are much more likely to flip out of the pan, I'm now realizing. But they better not. Also, we control the dropping of objects into the pan. So if you drop them too slowly, I guess, you've wasted the first half of the first cigarette. One left. Just gotta find him and feed him. Cigarettes are the most agreeable way of ignoring life. I think they might be the most delicious way of ignoring life. Lots and lots of soldiers up here. And our last hungry man just wants a whole hell of a lot of sardines. And also karaoke that is not karaoke. He might not know what he wants. I think that can will never open if it's on its side. Yeah, I don't like my odds. No way you can burn the can, I'm pretty sure, so I'm not too worried about that. Whatever side is facing up is the side that will open. Makes no sense. Making sense is not a high priority in this game. Beautiful. Like I said, easy mode. Now that everyone outdoors has been fed, we can go indoors, and there are 3 locations that you can enter. Each of them has, I believe, 8 people. And if you feed everyone at 2 of the locations, there will be 1 left over, so you have to enter all 3. Look at you. There it is, the zoom in button. I knew it existed. You are either in a fancy parka or a full body cast. Guarding the Saint of Six Stomachs. There we go, 27 people. So yeah, 8 in each sub area. 16 more if we feed the entirety of 2 of them. 27 total required. This game is in Games Done Quick. In the winter, they are running the category where they feed 28 stomachs. I.e. the bare minimum. Although the Saint of Six Stomachs has 6 stomachs. You'd think he would count 6 times over. He's hungry, but he's kind of a dick, so he will only allow us to feed him if we feed everyone else properly. And if we forget our number, smoke up. There might be a run button. I played recently the entirety of Mouthwashing and only realized... I didn't realize through the entire game, my partner realized on their playthrough that there was a run button. Some of the sections of that game were very, very difficult for no reason. I didn't know about the run button. So, here we have, like, a sushi bar. And they care about salmonella. The appropriate amount, I should think. Does the sushi chef want anything cooked? Can't seem to find the hotspot to talk to him. You want attention. No stingrays anymore. So, this section is mostly fish themed. Most fish are more difficult to deal with than sardines. You really should know better than to cook an entire fugu like this. We don't. Oh, if you bounce things too high, they also cease to exist. And they'll bounce out. I'm not going to play this whole game. Although I did prevent the bouncing by dropping it right on the cigarette. That's handy. But yeah, I just want to show off some of the fish. And then I will leave this area. Cross to a second zone, and then I'll probably call it. For now, we got a whole second game to check out. Way more breakfast where this came from. Arrested when I was 12. He did a got your nose on the Saint of Six Stomachs. You gotta respect hierarchy. Hierarchy, even. When you're an elf. Even you understand now what you've done. Your criminal shenanigans. Double fugu. They will occasionally inflate themselves and thus set themselves a bouncing again. We see their gimmick, so I'm done with fugu. What you got? Oh my. Got a camera in the middle of your face. Got chickens. Guarding them aggressively. And that is not hungry business. Hello, bunny. Like how the camera clearly indicates that we do not take up physical space. We are directly in front of the bunny, and we are not visible. We are but a floating pan with an attached hand. Food is good. The kind of philosophical statement you can normally only get from Gauntlet. Smoking tobacco, yes, that's depressing. Eating tobacco. Why, that's just part of your balanced breakfast. I think people are a little too interested in discussing politics with strangers. Also disgusting politics. A little too interested in that as well. Right, I know this guy wants a fish. He's got him. But he can't cook him. Only I have that honor. See? Fucking robot won't teach him. Okay, I remember this one. You gotta play this one backwards. So our controls are reversed. I always hate that in video games. It mostly doesn't matter because it's a, you know, Equal on all sides circle. A little disorienting. Okay, that was almost good. Ah, my flips are not working out. But whatever. You're just making eggs and bacon. You want to make this gentleman eggs and bacon, I recommend picking this game up on your own. If I'm not mistaken, it is fairly cheap and goes on sale often. And it's fun. I legit like this game quite a bit. These bugs. Quality bugs. Guarding this fish. Should we cook this fish? Not while it's still alive. It's still alive. Currently, Earth is undergoing a 180-degree transformation. In roughly 20 to 30 more years, the shift will be complete, turning the Arctic into the new Antarctic, and possibly restoring a normal, albeit inverted, climate distribution. So, when the world seems all topsy-turvy, eventually, that'll be for the best. The Antarctic will be the Arctic, and a perfect climate distribution will be reached. Citation needed. I guess that fish is an accelerationist. A flawed ideology, to say the least. If I'm not mistaken, yep, this gentleman was alluded to by the guard at the entrance. We're not allowed to cook stingrays for the big man upstairs anymore. But we still gotta cook them. So the stingray is effectively a gargantuan egg. This, in my opinion, might be the hardest thing to cook in the whole game. Like, of individual objects, this one is really, really, really hard to flip. Yeah. I am not going to torment myself with cooking the stingray. But you get 7 meals that you don't actually have to make. I highly recommend making that one of the 7. And who's this nudist? He can't die. Keeps getting replaced bit by bit. He is the father of Theseus. And Theseus himself has almost been completely replaced as well. When he's not in the hospital, he's a fishing. His tongue goes next, so make it count. Okay, this is not too terrible. 2 simple fish. And I'm glad we got to see the other type of fish besides the fugu and the stingray. Stingray won't... bounced it at myself. The fugu won't bounce around anymore once it's cooked, making it significantly easier to handle, and yet it bounced it right into my own face as it was fully baked. Now, the hard part. Land. Oh, it landed all right. So I remember this being a difficult meal, and my memories are serving me properly. I think what I can do, once the blowfish is seared, like that, separate them out a little. Ah, it was a beautiful dream. Yeah, these guys have a lot of teamwork. particular fish. Their skills complement each other very well. Only going to give this a few more tries. Ooh, yes, beautiful. Stop bouncing. Just them around as non-violently as possible. Make that meal. Give this guy's tongue a beautiful and well-deserved send-off. And there it goes. The ultimate display of a satisfied customer. In some cultures, you're supposed to burp loudly, show that you enjoyed a meal. Culture's traditions are, well, more dramatic. Plenty more fish that we could cook. There's another location, the nightclub. I'm not even going to bother going to the nightclub, because I am more interested in the actually somewhat horrific location. Way off in the corner. I want to say the nightclub is up there somewhere. That's where they introduced beverages, so get ready for the horror of cooking beverages. And if you spill a single drop, the meal is a failure. Maybe this will be the nightclub. Maybe they just go in order. This is very much not the nightclub. This is the prison. A lot of very disobedient Antarcticans. But also very hungry, despite having their heads replaced. Seems to be a punishment, as almost everyone here has some kind of severe prosthesis. The bugs find me desirable, and frankly, I'm jealous. This bug will be seasoning, but he must stay in the pan. The cockroach has to be flipped frequently, because if its feet are touching the pan, it will move towards the nearest edge of the pan and free itself. That's good. Stuck on its thorax. Bit of a pain. So when I beat this game myself, I did the entirety of the docks and the entirety of the nightclub. And I couldn't do the entirety of the prison, because things like these cockroaches are pretty difficult to manage. The bugs do not want to work with me in this game. Normally I'm very fond of bugs, which would explain why I'm so bad at cooking and killing them. Good start. Ah, that's beautiful. Although, we might have to flip that roach again. Stay in there. Okay, we're good. Rock solid. Roach omelet. It means a lot. You are welcome, Hamhead. There's a specific item in this prison that I'm looking for, though. Garbage head. Chicken gizzards are extremely pliable when exposed to toilet water. The perfect meal. A cube of chicken guts. So we have to cook all 6 faces of the chicken gut cube. They cook very quickly. But we've got our time limit. And it is difficult to parse which side is even still uncooked at any given moment. This one's pretty satisfying, if thoroughly disgusting. Might be on the last side. Ooh, that was way too high. And my cigarette ran out. Oh yeah, the gizzard cube. May not look appetizing, but it's pretty fun. And I'm pretty sure Garbage Can Head is the only guy who bothered to make one out of toilet water. I guess this implies that he's been stealing chickens. That might have been what landed him here. There should be at least one more arbitrary thing that the prisoners want us to cook. Thomas Jefferson talked to the headless man. Well, he's got a sprinkler for a head. Technically better than nothing. Got his left hand off as he was bored. Surprisingly, he does not want us to cook his severed left hand. I'd have done it. What have we here? At a prison party. Feel like the soldiers don't want very much. Ah, Polish girlfriends. Becoming quite a problem for soldiers. And he's addicted to toilet perching. What kind of drugs was he doing that reddened his thighs? That is true. If we're a bad poultry prepper, we go to jail. Our last chance to avoid permanent incarceration and a parent beheading. The old philosophical question. Someone in every section will contemplate the possibility of cooking eggs on Mount Everest. And they clearly don't need me for commentary. They have said in-game everything that I said over the game. Rarely has a game told me to shut the fuck up so clearly. Let's see, who else gonna be hungry up here? What's this tiny cell? Ah, for the backwards talker. Cockroach, hold the roach, is what he said. This guy can't understand, though. What the hell is this? Frozen pizza. Probably don't pan fry your frozen pizzas. And we gotta cook some bullets with it. Bullets do not have to be part of the final meal. Delicious though they probably would be. They are explosives and they disrupt us. We want to keep the food away from the bullets. Which will fall periodically. Well, they fall anytime one bullet is expended. No, periodically, I guess. Pizza cooks pretty slowly. I don't like where that bullet is. Okay. I think we're all set. Guy trapped in a bathroom of a cell is gonna get his frozen pizza. I'm proud to say. Or as he ordered, a cockroach hold the roach. Wait, I just got that. God damn. Oh, who else up here? That's hilarious backwards jokes for me to eventually parse. Egg. Egg. Bullet. Eggs are very light if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they go flying when they get shot. We've seen so many eggs get cooked at this point. I think we're all set for Arctic eggs. A recommended game. Technically horror, if you find roaches to be adequately horrifying. It's a fun little physics gimmick, silly thing. I like it. And it does have some philosophical implications that it likes to blather at you. But what if we were to play a significantly more frivolous breakfast horror game? That is soon to be not a hypothetical question. If this game ever lets me leave. I think I just got an achievement, which seems impossible because I beat the entire game already. So this video game, not based along analog sticks, it is made by DDD Wares. You may remember DDD Wares from making Dead End Road that I played a couple weeks ago. I am fond of their work. This game went somewhat viral back when it first came out. I remember basically all the Something Awful regulars streaming this game. Well, let's find out why this game's silly as hell. And it's called Breakfast at Cemetery. And then it has this much better subtitle, Bon Appetit. Should have just called it that. At least it's in there somewhere. Let me just refresh my instructions real quick. Some food we can't pick up. Rotate the held object. You gotta use the space button to open the mouth. I think we're set.
Breakfast at cemetery.
You said it. I'm not sure why space button to open mouth is a requirement, because you should really just have your mouth open all the time. Because how are you going to eat breakfast without your mouth open? We got 20 seconds to consume 100 calories. And go. Not going well so far. Oh yeah, we gotta bounce the toast out. Sometimes a ghost comes and steals your food. This time it didn't matter. But this is an exciting action breakfast game with creepy aesthetics. Crack that egg. And done for. Here, egg. And I saved this. No. Our skeleton is clearly on the verge of starvation, because if we don't eat fast enough, we die. I guess when you have no skin, you're probably pretty close to death at any given moment. And you have 10 seconds to eat. 10 seconds of precious life. That explains something. All right, pancake time. Wednesday pancakes. Uh-oh. Oh, I poked my eyeball out. I'm gonna eat my eyeball. The best of my ability. Why is my fork stop working? Damn you, fork. So, bit of an interesting quirk is we can only rotate the objects in our hands so much. I'm probably screwed because the pancake is too far away. Ah. But we also can't touch the pancakes with our filthy skeleton hand. Our eyeballs were 20 calories. You're so close. Okay. That counted. With 0.26 seconds remaining. We are fed. My toast is getting away, so I guess I better start. Too late. Thankfully, there's a handy reset button. I don't think there's ever a point where being able to eat your eyeball actually comes in handy. Sometimes it's nice to have the option, though. We still need breakfast. Yes, you need it everywhere. All right, and here's the part where we start to have a really, really hard time. We're going to eat cereal, Skellos specifically, the only way I know how. Pouring the entire box on the table, using the bowl to just sort of hold it somewhat in place. Throw the box over my shoulder. Fill the milk all over the table as well. Then we take the entire table and we get this cereal in our mouths. Quickly. He took the table. He took the whole table. That is the worst ghost behavior I've ever seen. The ghost will take anything it reaches first, but I have the table tilted up, so that was my own mistake. Yeah, this section's pretty difficult. But if you've been eating cereal like this your whole life, you have a head start. And thankfully, you don't have to eat all the cereal. You have to eat a significant proportion of it, though, and I fear I may have already missed out. Oh yeah, I spilled way too much, I think. So I am going to beat the cereal, but I don't know how much more I'm going to beat. This game gets harder way faster than Arctic Eggs does. Make that mess all over the place, and... Sure. That's clearly tilted downwards enough to unleash the milk. Oh, that cereal went everywhere. Table's gone again. This part feels kind of luck-based. I mean, this whole game is pretty luck-based. That's the joy of it. It's chaos of physics objects flying everywhere. Oh boy. That is too much wasted cereal. I will eat this cereal. Surprising that the simplest of all breakfasts in real life is the most difficult one to actually eat in-game. That's the difference that musculature makes in day-to-day activities. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you don't even have to eat anywhere near all the cereal. Good thing, too. And the table is underneath the screen. You can still release held objects after the end of the level, sending the table flying. Crack that egg. If I'm not mistaken, that is the British way to prepare a hard-boiled egg. Maybe it's the American way. I'm admittedly not eating a ton of hard-boiled eggs. I gotcha. Did it. Eating the cereal is hard mode, so. Once you do that, you are set. Oh boy. Okay, I lost a whole waffle. That's a deal breaker. Oh. And there I just accidentally pressed the reset button, which is right-click on the mouse. Waffles are getting away. Do not want to be consumed. Oh, this one just fell on the floor. We are concerned with sanitation, so we won't eat it off the floor. This is what I mean. You should just always have your mouth open. Eyeball on one side of the fork, waffle on the other. Okay, we're currently facing the difficulty of you can only rotate the fork so much. And yeah, it's all gone. It's all over. This one is not even very difficult, but you'll find new ways to suffer each and every time you play this game. Back here. My fork stopped forking, but eventually it worked out. Important message from your skeleton sponsors. Breakfast, get in my mouth. All right, eggs and bacon. Already cooked by our friendly poultry peddler. Oh boy. I'm eating everything but the eggs and bacon. How do we eat bacon? Like this? Apparently not. Yeah, I'm not allowed to grab any of these objects. Eat the egg for free. Then I guess I will carefully navigate the bacon into my mouth. So close. Yes! Eat that bacon right off the table. All right, cereal time again. I am making a very large mess, which is not recoverable. So I've never beaten this level, and I don't know what's beyond. This might be the, just where we end. Breakfast at Cemetery. Look at that. Cereals still go, pouring itself as though haunted. Why has Stephen King never written a story about a haunted cereal box? Maybe he has. I haven't read all of his short story compilations, although that could easily be a full-length 1,000-page novel, which is the only kind of novel he writes. For some reason, I find this level to be dramatically harder than the first cereal level. I don't know why, can't explain it. The introduction of bread makes my life much, much harder. Maybe the time limit is the same, and I'm just not realizing it. I think you have to eat a greater proportion of the overall cereal. The bowl's protecting my mouth from any possible consumption. Brutal. One more try. For old time's sake. Actually, I'm going to set up an obscenity first. There we go. Just making a mess. Probably good for a thumbnail image. The things you gotta consider. On Scalios. I don't like the placement of that bowl. And grabbing the milk took too long. You want the ghost to take the bottle of milk. Bowl's in my mouth. Bowl's on my head. Yeah, I didn't eat anywhere near enough. And that is Breakfast at Cemetery. You can't, as far as I can tell, quit back to menu. If you hit escape, it just quits the whole game. I'm going to relaunch the game because there was one alternate mode on the title screen, and I'm going to take a quick look at that. And probably fail it and die. But it is titled The Machine.
That cemetery.
The Machine. That comes with a top hat, so I'm glad I checked already. Skeletons look good with a goatee. Okay, this is the evil skeleton. Dr. Skullhead. Our friend is in the infernal machine. None have escaped its clutches. We're done for. Mr. Bones is no more. Almost certainly. Tied to the tracks. Uh-oh. I think I've made it worse. Our fingers are the hitbox. So we have to press our fingers at the exact spot on the lever to actually make anything occur. Which notably is not where my mouse is. Sort of compensating where my mouse has been placed. You'd think these levers would do something. Tragically, no. But we've gotten we've got a long way away from breakfast at this point. And that simply won't do. This has been Breakfast Horror Games. Hope you've enjoyed their fun, silly nonsense. And I hope you have a good meal. You'll need it to fight the government. Or any other battles you may face in the day-to-day.